Hello, hello everyone. I'm Nandita Ghatge, and it is truly a joy to be here with all of you today. Before I begin, let me thank Khaki Lab for inviting me here today. It is both a privilege and a pleasure to share the story of Rajaram with you. The story of Chhatrapati Rajaram and me began nearly 30 years ago. I was struck by a watercolor painting, and in it showed my husband's grandfather, Sir Pirajirao Ghatge, of Kagal, with his brother, who had been adopted into the Kolhapur line as Chhatrapati, His Highness Shahu Maharaj. And they're both seen visiting in this beautiful painting, the Chhatri of Rajaram in Florence, in the coronation of curiosity, soon grew into a lifelong quest. Over the years, I found myself drawn deeper into the histories of our family, and in 2023, the journey culminated in my book, The Ghatges, The Rise of a Royal Dynasty, 1398 to 2022, which is almost 600 years. Through this research, I discovered something very personal: the close familial ties that bind us to the Chhatrapatis of Kolhapur and Chhatrapati Rajaram itself. A collaboration with Italian journalist Deirdre Pirot opened doors to precious documents in Florence archives. What began as a research became friendship, and together we retrace the footsteps of a young king whose memory still binds Kolhapur and Florence. In October 2024, I was invited to Florence by admirers of Rajaram Maharaj, Ariel and Larissa Bartolini of Bussati Linen, and Rebecca of the International School of Florence. The event, hosted with the support of the mayor's office, brought together dignitaries and members of the press for the publication of my book, A Maharaja in Florence. Did you know that Kolhapur's connection with Europe began long before Rajaram's voyage? On Brahmapuri Hills,
Nandita,
so there's a long connection with Kolhapur and Rome. On the hills of Brahmapuri near Kolhapur, the archaeologists discovered a bronze statue of the Poseidon, the Greco-Roman god of the seas, dating to the 1st century BC. A reminder that my city once traded with Rome, ships carrying spices and textiles westward, and returned with gold, amphor, and bronzes. Long before Chhatrapati Rajaram set foot in Europe, his city had already reached Rome and Italy, or maybe Europe. Kolhapur itself has a history stretching back to more than 2000 years, and its story flows through three distinct phases: the ancient Brahmapuri settlement, the medieval splendor of the Chalukyas and the Shilaharas, and the modern era of the Marathas and later the British Raj. Also known as Dakshin Kashi, Kolhapur has long been a center of devotion, especially of Mahalakshmi temple and the Indo-Sasanic architecture and the reformist leaders. Well, to understand Rajaram's brief but remarkable life, we must first see the lineage he belonged to. The Chhatrapatis of Kolhapur, heirs to the great Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, is carried forward a legacy of power, struggle, and reform. It is against this background that Chhatrapati Rajaram's own story gains its true meaning. The rise of the Maratha Empire itself began in 1674 with the coronation of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj at Regal. Shivaji Maharaj was a visionary. He built not only a kingdom but a nation rooted in justice, sound administration, and brilliant military innovation.
For what?
His seal declared his reign was dedicated to the welfare of all, an ideal that continues to inspire his successors today. By the mid century, the Marathas held sway from Tamil Nadu to Peshawar, from Bengal to Gujarat, and the famous phrase goes from Atak to Katak, at Kepar, I think they used to say. They were the first great Hindu power in centuries to turn the tide against the mighty Islamic dynasties, capturing Delhi and even placing a Mughal puppet emperor, I think Shah Alam II, on the throne for some time. Before the British East India Company seized power through cunning and the policy of divide and rule, it was the Marathas who held sway over most of India, and it was truly the last great pan-Indian empire. When Chhatrapati Sambhaji, the brave son of Shivaji Maharaj, was brutally executed by Aurangzeb in 1689, it seemed that the Maratha Empire would crumble. But his younger brother, Chhatrapati Rajaram, now this is the first Rajaram, and we're going to be talking about his predecessor, which is the hero of our story, just so that you don't get confused, rose from the stronghold of Jinji in Tamil Nadu to keep the resistance alive, defying the Mughal armies. After Rajaram's death, his widows carried the torch. Tarabai or Tararani, the warrior queen, rallied armies against Panhara near Kolhapur and fought the Mughals to a standstill. Raja Sabai, the second wife, who was from the Ghatge family, with quiet determination, staged a daring coup to secure the throne for her son, that is Sambhaji II. And thus were born the two seats of the Chhatrapatis, Satara under Chhatrapati Shahu, son of Sambhaji, and Kolhapur under Tararani's line. The legacy divided, but never it continued. The shadow of 1857 still lingered over India, and the great uprising had shaken the British Empire to its core. In its climate of suspicion and reasserted control, the Maratha states, proud, wounded, yet resilient, carried on. At Kolhapur, the throne was held by Chhatrapati Babasaheb, and we come to now the period where Chhatrapati Rajaram is we're going to be talking about his immediate relations. So Babasaheb Chhatrapati is now the uncle of young Rajaram, earlier known as Nagoji Rao Patankar, and his cousin Jaysingrao Abasaheb Ghatge. So his reign is vividly described in the travelogues of Sir Bartle Frere, Governor of Bombay, and his daughter Mary Frere. Here you see a beautiful etching of the now Kolhapur central courtyard, and you see in the background you might see the Mahalakshmi and the palace, the old palace as it is known. And I got the permission of this painting or etching from the Calcutta Museum. So I thought it would be interesting for you to see the old Kolhapur during Rajaram's time. Well, we get back to Sir Bartle Frere, Governor of Bombay. Their arrival in Kolhapur was nothing short of a spectacle. Elephants were painted with painted brows, and silver howdahs led the procession. Horses, their coats dusted in magenta gulal, shimmered in the sun. Frere writes about the palace with its vast courtyards, frescoes of Hindu mythology that seemed to leap from the walls, and he described some beautifully red lacquered pillars. And at dusk, the population of Kolhapur had laid out bamboo poles strung with lamps to welcome the governor, with while jasmine and roses perfumed the air. In the great Darbar Hall, Chhatrapati Babasaheb received the governor with regal authority, and Mary Frere is fluent in Marathi thanks to her Lingayat nanny, was welcomed into the Janana by the Maharani and by the princesses Aubai and Balabai. This meeting sowed the seeds of a lasting bond. The sons of the princesses, Rajaram and Jaysingrao, were very lightly introduced to the Freres then, and this bond would endure through the continents. Years later, when Chhatrapati Rajaram and his cousin, Regent Jaysingrao Ghatge, traveled in Europe, they rekindled their friendship, and so curiously, the figure of Sir Bartle Frere, the great builder of Bombay, behind the Gothic revival, the docks, the Flora fountain, is also woven into the story of Kolhapur. Through him, the thread of the Indo-Saracenic architecture, which is in Bombay, it runs from Bombay to Kolhapur. And just as Frere shaped Bombay skyline, Kolhapur too began to rise with its own architectural landmarks under its regents and rulers. And it is into this atmosphere that the gifted architect Charles Mant steps, bringing into him the Indo-Saracenic styles that would leave a lasting imprint on Kolhapur skyline. His influence and designs initially can be seen in the Rajaram High School, which was actually the dream of Chhatrapati Rajaram. And this is a beautiful sketch that I happened to find done by Charles Mant. And of course, to go back to the Indo-Saracenic, we have the CPR hospital, the town hall, additions to the new palace, and civic works around Rankara and Karamba lakes. So now it was basically, we come back to the story of Rajaram, where sadly the reign of Chhatrapati Babasaheb was brief, ending with his passing on the 4th of August, 1866, only months after being honored with the knighthood of the Star of India. And at that time, both his nephews, Nagoji Rao Patankar and Jaysingrao Abasaheb Ghatge, were residing in the Kolhapur palace, being the princess's sons. Jaysingrao was the son of his sister Barabai and said to be Babasaheb's favorite, though younger. But fate intervened, and on the day of Babasaheb's sudden death, Jaysingrao was away in Kargil seeking blessings from the family and hoping that he would become the Chhatrapati. But instead, Nagoji Rao Patankar, son of Princess Aubai, was swiftly enthroned, and Jaysingrao lost his first chance at becoming the Chhatrapati. So yes, he was renamed as Srimant Rajashri Rajaram, first Chhatrapati of Kolhapur. And with the hereditary salute of 19 guns, from that moment, the paths of the two cousins, Rajaram and Jaysingrao, would be bound together. They were both then taken away from the palace environment and kept in a small bungalow near Bauda, so that they would be tutored more like a boarding, and they were under the guidance of Captain West and Unawala, who was a graduate from Bombay. They visited their mothers and aunts in the palace maybe one of the evenings, and later on, I think Rajaram lost his birth mother and was looked after by Jaysingrao Ghatge's mother. So naturally, the bond was really close. Rajaram matured very quickly. He was 16 when he was adopted, and he devoted himself to studies and statecraft. Jaysingrao, younger, was more fond of his horses and dogs, but slowly grew into his responsibilities that would one day make him the regent of Kolhapur. Well, here's something fascinating. So, do you know, according to Hindu law and tradition, crossing the seven seas was forbidden. For Brahmins, it broke the ritual duties. For the Kshatriya kings, leaving one's realm meant neglecting their sacred duty to protect their praja. But Rajaram was undeterred and inspired by the recent visit of the Duke of Edinburgh to Bombay and India in 1868. He became determined to visit or travel to Europe, and he brushed aside every religious obstacle and was ready to carve his own path. He stayed in Bombay till he got his permissions, I believe, and that you see is the Flora Fountain, probably during the time that he was trying to woo the British officers to let him go to Europe. Anyways, finally, in 1870, Rajaram embarks on his great voyage to Europe, sailing through the newly opened Suez Canal. I think it opened just a year ago in 69, and thus becoming the first Hindu Maratha Chhatrapati to cross the seas. A daring act that broke taboos. It was a daring act of defiance and curiosity, and also a sign of the modern ruler he aspired to be. I think, as far as I know, excepting for the Sikh king who was taken forcibly, Dilip Singh, and a few Muslim kings, I don't think, I have no clue whether there was any Hindu king that actually visited Europe. So I think he was one of the first. Anyways, young uh, Rajaram lands in Marseille and then travels by road to Paris and finally arrives in London at the Charing Cross station. He is received with great pomp by Sir Bartle Frere, who has left for England, and Mr. K, the political secretary of India. Soon after, he lodges himself in a residence at the Hyde Park, and he therefore becomes a object of fascination in the London society. Admired by his slender frame, his lustrous eyes, and princely dignity, he left a strong impression. Lady Verney wrote in one of the articles that he looked far older than his 20 years, contemplative and reserved, yet brilliant when he smiled. He was always impeccably dressed in a dark green coat and a twisted red muslin headgear, which is obviously the Kolhapur pagri. He carries himself with gravity and grace, and he's never ever seen bareheaded in public and never entirely alone, always surrounded by his attendants who mixed deference with affection. But what truly fascinated his host is how Rajaram balanced the East and the West. He's delighted in the Western refinements, yet he never surrenders his Eastern sensibilities and his customs. He traveled with his own attendant at a specially with a specially designated kitchen. And can you imagine the aroma that drifted out in Marseille or in Paris and later in London? The smell of Kolhapuri mutton and fiery rasa and the richly spicy dishes, meals that he even offered with generous curiosity to his European guests. And yet, at the grand banquets, he would only touch peaches and grapes and champagne. A quiet reminder that while he embraced the West, he did not abandon the codes of his own religion. At first, he was one thing he observes after having probably seen the very stiff British officials that he was used to in India. He is amazed and astonished to see that some of the most powerful men in England, like the British Prime Minister, the Principal Secretary of State for India, walking quietly to the railway station with nothing but their umbrellas in hand and no retinue. Soon he understood that dignity did not always need a show of grandeur, and that was something absolutely amazing for him. Uh, well, these experiences softened his manners, refined his outlook, and deepened his consideration for others. His liberal ideas on women's emancipation, which had already taken root, became more refined and vigorous after his visit. Uh, before leaving England, he even made arrangements to hire a lady tutor to train and educate the women of his household. A small but a significant step towards the reform and the education that he wanted for the ladies. But Rajaram was hungry, not for food, but to experience. And we must remember he's barely 20, almost a teenager. So he wants to see everything Europe had to offer. He attended debates at Westminster. He's watched trials in the magistrates' courts, visited the Woolwich, I think, Arsenal, played croquet with the nobles, and admired the spectacle of Wimbledon, and listened to the debates in the House of Lords. He especially enjoyed the debates between Disraeli and Gladstone. And at Claydon, he's conversed with the great Vedic scholar Max Muller. He met Queen Victoria herself, and I believe she invites him again and has introduced him to her daughter, Princess Beatrice. And when so that was an honor, and that she must have really liked him for her to do that. And so he's quite very pleased that she has shown such concern. He's met the Prince of Wales and a lot of other nobility, including, I think he's called for a dinner tenders where the first telegraphic line is laid between London and India, and he was there when the telegram was sent, or the between the Governor General. So that. So now we have an interesting thing. I guess everyone, whoever is from Bombay, knows the Sassoons, and he is specially invited by the Sassoons. They have, I think, by then left Bombay and have are staying now in England, and he's invited for lunch. They organize a tented lunch in their gardens at Walton, and he describes the whole thing where they have organized a band in his honor, etc. So I guess everyone knows the famed banker, businessman, philanthropist family from Bombay, and I guess it was an honor for both of them to have met each other. Among the many new experiences that fascinated Rajaram in England was a dance called the quadrille. A young Maratha prince, barely 20, was very excited to step into the European ballroom for the first time, and yet, with his natural poise and love for riding and sense of discipline, he picks up this dance, and I believe he's even taken private lessons for to learn quadrilles. And it's supposedly a two-pair dance with between four people in a formation of a square. Anyways, so here it's
Nandita, I
amazing.
think the slide change has to happen for the next slide.
Okay, yeah,
Where,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, that's Walton. Sorry. Here's this warrior prince from Kolhapur mastering the steps of a ballroom with the same ease he shows in the saddle. Rajaram's months in Europe were an extraordinary experiment and East and West synthesis, and he's obviously gone and seen all the plays, all the operas in Europe, and he's not missed a single play, I think. And he's quite fascinated with the opera singer Patti, and he mentions all of them. Uh, but then it's time to go back, and I think in 1870, as the Franco-Prussian war rages, his entourage is forced to alter their travel plans. And by November, if you change, the their winter has set in. Now here they are crossing Switzerland, and the young Maharaja wrote. He writes a diary. By the way, this most of us what I read right here is from his diary, and he writes in that saying that they see their first snow, and his I think his attendants are absolutely amazed, and they want to carry the snow back in some small box or something. Anyways, he's met in Belgium. He's met the emperor there, and Germany is seen. So he's absolutely the ultimate traveler. He's a tourist, and he's seen everything that had to be seen in his short time that he was there. Um anyways, but destiny had already begun to cast its cruel shadow, and illness crept silently into his body. By the time they reached Venice, he could no longer walk. I think he had an attack of rheumatism, and but determined not to miss its splendors, he is ordered that he be carried in a sit-down chair, and he has seen all the sights, palaces, and galleries that have to be seen. And but then here you can see the warning of death has already started to show, and it's like an omen that uh, has cast its spell on him. From Venice, and now he stopped writing his diary, and but he still is, I think, dictating it to one of his attendants. From Venice, the journey passes on to Florence. At first, Rajaram refused to, refused a European physicians because he had his own Hakim in his entourage. But as his strength ebbed, he relented, and there was a British and an Italian doctor. They tried everything, and sadly, on the morning of November 30th, 1870, at only 20 years of age, the gentle prince of Kolhapur breathed his last. Florence was stunned, Kolhapur was barefoot, and the promise of a life so bright, so eager to bridge the East and West, was extinguished in a foreign land. Silence and flames, burning camphor, silk, and precious jewels mingled with tears, ice, and mud, as described by Lenucci in the paper La Repubblica when they announced the book release of my book in 2024. Has is a beautiful description of his death, and this has marked his cremation in the Cascine Park on the night of December 1st. Florentines in astonishment watched a riot that they'd never seen before, because I think cremation was banned by the papal and so they had to get special permissions, and and then they've also made sure that they found a confluence of the river Arno and Mugnon, which was which in turn turned out to be a little sangam, and the cremation takes place on that point. After his untimely death, Kolhapur mourned and is in mourning, and it's an absolute shock. And slowly, they've decided that there should be a chhatri built on the confluence of the river Mognon and Ano. And late on, when his cousin Abasaheb Maharaj comes to because it was the minority of Shivaji fourth, uh, he becomes the regent, Jaysingrao Abasaheb Ghatge. And so he has ensured that a fitting chhatri is built with the help of the British authorities and the Italian authorities, and of course Charles Mand, who has earlier designed the dream school Rajaram, which was the foundation that he laid, but couldn't be completed. It was completed after his death. So that was the chhatri that is designed by Charles Mand, and the sculptor is Charles Francis Fuller in marble. And initially, the costs I think were about 2,000 lire, but it rose up to 40,000. Mant had to return to India to appeal for funds, and it was finally under Abasaheb's regency that the full payment was made. And so there's a record of it. I have it in my book. Years later, in 1902, Chhatrapati Shahu adopted into the Kolhapur line. He was the natural son of Abasaheb Ghatge and visited the Chhatri in Florence with his brother, Sir Rajaram Ghatge. And that is this is the bridge that has been, it's called the Ponte di Indiano, and it's a confluence of the two rivers. So this is also named after him as Ponte al Indiano. So that is a tribute after so many years by Florence to this Maharaja from Kolhapur. Years later, in 1902, Chhatrapati Shahu, his grandson, is adopted. He is a natural son of Abasaheb. And okay, so this is a beautiful. I was sent this by your go his. This is the hotel room, and they've called it the Principe Indiano at the Duomo Luxury in Florence, and it is it shows all Indian, decorated in the Indian style. So they are honoring Rajaram, and it's dedicated to Prince Rajaram Chhatrapati II of Kolhapur, lover of art and culture.
So, Nandita, this is the photo that you were mentioning was shared by Bharat Kotoskar,
Yes,
right?
right.
Yes.
So this
Yeah.
has been shared by Bharat Gotiskar, and I I didn't know at that time when I went to Italy. I wish I had. I would have probably visited it, and in fact, none of the Italians that I knew also didn't know. So they probably will go and give a copy of our books there. They've promised to do that. Anyways, Chhatrapati Shahu, his grandson, would later on become one of India's greatest reformers. This is parts of the Chhatri, which is, you can see, the Kolhapur seal and the parrots. It's been restored recently by the Italian, and I happened to meet the architect, and they've done a wonderful job of it. It's really an honor to see that they are so fond of the Indiano, as they call him. And then we come to so this is the painting of my husband's great grandfather and first cousin of Rajaram, and you can see it behind me, the painting. I don't know, can you see the screen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can
Yeah, yeah,
to a lot of
okay, because I
extent.
can't. Anyway, so that's a painting, and he has visited Italy in 1885, and he's followed the same route, and he's also, I think, set up I think, a, what do you say, a charity thing for tuberculosis. That's what my Italian friend, uh, the one who helped me, Deirdre Piro, tells me. I think she may be online, so you can talk to her also. She was my co researcher, and so she says unfortunately the archives there were under repair, so she couldn't get more information on the charity that was set up during his visit. Uh, so, anyways, we can come back to Shahu Maharaj. Yeah. And so, Shahu Maharaj was his grandson. Of course, he was adopted from our family as Jaysingrao. And yeah. So now, after him, he becomes the regent, and he has done a lot of what do you say? He built the Rangpara, the Kadambawadi, and he's, I think, also helped with the extension of the palace. And he was an exceptional regent also. And his son is given in adoption to the Kolhapur family as Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj. He's the same person that you see in the painting there. But unfortunately, he dies soon after he comes back, and his son is still a minor. But later on, Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj obviously is a legend, and he has done tremendous work for the education of the downtrodden, and that's them visiting the Chhatri in 1902. I think they were invited for the coronation, and there is my husband's grandfather, Sir Rajaram, and uh, members of the Darbar, like I think Gaikwad, and there's some the entourage that went with him. Anyways, so these are some of the beautiful buildings that were built under Charles Mand, the one who's also designed the Chhatri, and we see the Rajaram High School, the CPR hospital, the new palace, and the inside, that's the inside of a classroom. Can you imagine? Anyways, so Chhatrapati Shahu would become one of India's greatest reformers, and his mission was revolutionary to make education available to all. He built schools, offered scholarships, established hostels for every community from Marathas, Muslims, Jains, Lingayats, and even the so called untouchables. While other rulers built palaces, Chhatrapati Shahu inspected classrooms, rewarding bright students and trying to raise the educational standards. In this, we hear echoes of Rajaram Maharaj's unfulfilled promise. What Rajaram could only dream, Shahu carried into reality, making education the true legacy of Kolhapur's rulers. Thus, the cenotaph on the banks of the Arno still stands, arches and dome that rise against a Tuscan sky, a monument uh, not just to be lost to a lost prince, but to continuity, a bridge across time and faith. It reminds us that we are not separate from our ancestors, but living threads of their story, carrying their triumphs, griefs, and hopes within us. Rajaram's flame, kindled on the banks of the Arno, still flickers today, unbroken, like a river binding past to present, Florence to Kolhapur. And to honor them is ultimately to honor ourselves. Thank you. Yes. This is a bronze Poseidon, which is found in, I think, think, the Kolhapur. Thank you.
Such a wonderful narrative, Nandita, and the the pictures, the visuals made it so appealing. I'll probably take the liberty of mentioning that when khaki walks are done, all the ambassadors generally have uh, their book and visual maps, and this really took us through the entire journey. So wonderful, and there are a lot of before I go to the questions, there are a few points and comments that have echoed this sentiment as well. So Bharat has mentioned, regarding the Zuna Rajwada. Excellent. This is a rarest picture of the Rajwada that you shared with us.
Yes.
Um, Again, Milind mentioned about it was nice to see the old pictures. We love Kolhapur. Um, Jyoti supplemented that, mentioning, yes, me too loved Kolhapur, visited the palace, Rankala, Mahalakshmi. I myself had been there in the month of December 2024,
Okay.
and I now appreciate all the more. Probably next time I visit, I'll have more sort of things to visit Kolhapur and really appreciate the history more. So, um, some of the other points before I reach to the questions is one of the comments by Bharat again is regarding the statue at Senatov is the exact copy of that in Rajaram High School, opened in 1874.
Yes.
And then Yashodan mentions, yes, the statue was made by Bhiva Sutar. Um, and Sukhi mentions it's how wonderful to find this connect to Florence and a glimpse into the royal family from the time. So she's also thanking you for the narrative and the talk. Um, we love the Poseidon statue that you've shared. uh, and I'll probably move on to questions before I get on to rest of the comments. So the one of the first questions from Yashpal was, what is the language on the seal? The seal is on the front page of TOI. So would you be aware regarding the language on the seal? And Yashpal, in case you want to elaborate on any of the question, or Nandita, if you have a question to that particular point.
The seal of Shivaji Maharaj, that must be,
I believe so, yes, because that was the one of the first ones that you had
Sans-
shared on the, yeah.
I think it was Sanskrit. I think, no, no, it
Yes,
is,
it's in Sanskrit.
I'm
That
not
seal is
sure. It
Sanskrit.
could be Sanskrit or,
Okay,
yeah, I'm not sure.
okay. The next question is from Jyoti. Question is, as he took his own culinary chefs,
Yes.
does that mean he didn't have a European food? If you could share some flavor of that.
No, because I believe the he would be outcasted. So he is very particular. If you read in my book, you'll find the whole description of it. He has carried his own vessels, his own spices, his own food. He was given a special room, and his cooks would cook for him, and he would only eat that. As I said, he would only eat champagne and grapes or fruits outside, but he wouldn't touch anything that was, because as it is, he's gone to Europe with a lot of there's a lot of a taboo as to what he can eat, what his dharma should be brushed and all that. So he's made sure that he's taken everything. Of course, he would offer whatever he's cooked to the European, but he would not eat any of that. He's very particular about that.
And a sort of a added question to that from Yashpal is, how long was his stay in Europe?
So he's left Bombay in May, and because of the Suez Canal, he's reached, I think, by June. And he's got delayed because of the Franco that war, and so he's there till November 30th when he dies, unfortunately.
And
So
a-
5 months.
5 months. Oh,
Yeah.
s- probably in the narrative and the kind of coverage that he had looks quite a quite a long period, and not just those 5 months, right? So wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
He's,
yeah.
of course, he's lived like being a 20-year-old. You must think of him. I mean, now we're thinking of him as a Maharaja, but you must also consider him that he is a teenager. He's just, he's just 20. So he is obviously wanting to experience everything. I mean, that's what you get from his diary, that he wants to see everything. He wants to go to plays. He wants to see debates. So he's really lived. And even when he's not well, he said, carry me in a sedan chair, and he's gone around Venice. That's the kind of jest of life that he has.
Uh, the next question is, and I'm not getting the name from the Zoom here, so excuse me for that. Is there any information about the reason for his untimely death?
I think it turned out to be tuberculosis. It
Okay.
was tuberculosis.
Lot of comments. Wonderful to find this connect to Florence and a glimpse into the royal family, which again I think I already mentioned. Sukhi had that. Um,
I belong to the Ghatge family.
oh,
And I'll
you're
just
referring to
correct
Jyoti's question.
that. I don't want the
Yeah.
royal family is the Kolhapur, but I come from the royal family of Kagal, but we're
Okay.
closely connected,
Okay.
as you could see. Yeah.
Yeah. I presume you're also sort of answered the question that what is Nandita's contribution in designing of Kolhapur. I guess Jyoti that also answers a part of your question.
I love restoring old heritage palaces. So I've recently done the army mess in Kolhapur, and anything that's old intrigues me, and it connects me to history with design. So it's a wonderful combination.
Yeah. There is one question from Sabira, maybe not related, but what do you think of Prada appropriating the Kolhapuri chappal? Any views on that? It's quite in the
Well, I'm
news.
very happy, but I think it's become expensive for us now in Kolhapur. But yes, it's now lovely to be known all over the world for accepting your rasa and all. At least you've added one more thing to it.
uh, Again, a lot of comments. Rajeshri mentions even today Kolhapur has these beautiful buildings and monuments that need to be treasured and taken care of. The
Yes,
legacy to the Kolhapur visionaries really need to be treasured. Thanks a lot, Nandita. Yashodhan
true.
mentions,
I agree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
Mm. Yashodhan mentions many Maratha princely state kings, such as those from Sangli and Bhor, have visited the Chhatrapati Rajaram Memorial in Venice.
Uh,
Um,
Florence.
yeah,
Florence.
Florence, yes, Florence. Shruti mentions, Nandita, thank you for such an engaging talk. I loved how you wove in the history and shared those wonderful pictures of the monuments in Kolhapur and Europe. Um, Again, follow-up point by Yashodhan later, many Maratha princely state kings, such as those from Sangli and Bhor. Yeah, I think, you know, mentioned that. Fascinating linkages and old photos. Um
You must
and
go through the book, then you'll see some more because I couldn't put everything in. I was This is my first talk, so I was a little nervous, so I tried to make it as small as possible.
and the book is available on
It's
the
available
platform.
in Bombay in all your crosswords and Kitabkhana, etc., and on I think on Amazon.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Bharat asks, can you please throw some light on the Kolhapur Cup? Kolhapure Cup.
Kolhapuri Cup. I think uh, if I think Bharat is is he the person who's
Yes,
asking
yes,
the question?
Bharat.
In
Yeah.
fact, he has done the research on it, so maybe I would like him to talk more than me. He's found out about the Kolhapur Cup, so I don't know if you can put him online. He can maybe tell us a little
Uh,
more.
can
No,
we request and open it up for Bharat?
and the meanwhile, you can
Yes.
is my co-writer Deirdre also online from Florence?
Yes,
Hi, is that Deirdre?
Yes, it's me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you
Hello,
put
madam.
her
This
on?
is me, Bharat.
She's done. Okay, we'll do her after Bharat then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
This is Bharat, and actually, I would like to thank Khaki as well as madam for giving this opportunity. Whatever about that Kolhapur Cup that I'm going to tell, that is a very proud moment for every Indian, because when Rajaram Maharaj, during his visit to England, he went to Wimbledon, and at that time there were many shooting competitions were taken. So he, I think, donated £100 in 1870 to that organization, National Rifles Association. And after his death, in 5 months, the National Rifle Association started playing a international cup in the name of Raja of Kolhapur, and that cup is called Kolhapur Cup. The countries like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, all the Commonwealth countries used to take part in that uh, shooting cup, and this cup is still being played in England. It is still called as Kolhapur Cup.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Absolutely fascinating. And I personally had no clue about this. So thank you
I
for
didn't know
sharing that.
too, so
Yeah.
it's not in my book. Hopefully, in the next edition, we'll have it. But I wanted
Sure.
him to say it because it was his research. And
Because that is why that is fascinating, and it was even before the International Olympic Games. That was the international game before Olympics, and that is in the name of Kolhapur.
wow. Could we have Deirdre online?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm not technologically very au fait, so you may not be able to see me.
Okay.
But I'm delighted to be here and to be able to tell you a little bit about the research that I did for Nandita and her book. It's an amazing book, and I recommend it to everybody to read. It's extremely interesting. The Maharaja is very important to Florence. I first came across his story because I lived near the Cascine Park, which is where the Chhatri is placed. It's the largest park in the city of Florence, banks of the Arno. And when my son was a small boy, I used to take him for walks, and we would finish at the end of the Cascine where the Chhatri was. And he was always quite fascinated by this statue, and he kept asking me about it. And I really didn't know that much, except that, of course, the bridge that is behind it was called Indiano, the Indian bridge. And so when I began writing for the English language newspaper in Florence called the Florentine, I decided I'd do some research on the Chhatri, and I wrote a brief article about Rajaram's life. Out of that article, Nandita contacted me saying that she was going to or thinking of writing a book related to her husband's family. And would I be interested in doing some further research in Florence, which I did. The hardest thing actually finding the archives related to the Chhatri, because in the city archives, they didn't have a file actually dedicated to the Chhatri. And it was through the help of one of the archivists there that we found documents relating to the building of the Chhatri in a file that was dedicated to one of the city administrators.
Wow.
Now, the thing about the Chhatri and about the Rajaram's death was that it was quite an amazing event for the city of Florence, because he was to have his funeral pyre at the junction of two rivers. And this in 1870 for the Italians was really an event that they had never seen. And the mayor, who was a direct descendant of the Medici family, he was quite perplexed and didn't really quite know what he was supposed to do. But with assistance also of the British and Indian authorities, he decided that perhaps they could make an exception and have this, the funeral pyre at the junction of the Arno and the Mugnone, where the chhatri is now placed. And so to try and keep it a secret, he decided that the fire should be lit in the middle of the night, thinking that the secret wouldn't get out in Florence. But like in all towns, you cannot keep a secret. And of course, people flocked in their hundreds to see this incredibly amazing event, which it was, because I think the pyre burnt almost the entire evening. And so it was an event that was stamped indelibly into the Florentine memory. And today, often people walk through this park, the Cascine, just to go and visit the Chhatri. And they have come to learn the story of this very young man who unfortunately died in the city. But he is an honorary Florentine as well as being an Indian prince. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that as
Such an
well.
honor to have her here.
Yeah. We have probably a question or two more that was there in the box. I'll quickly
Yes.
go through that. One
Yes.
of the questions from Charmi is, if I'm not mistaken, I remember there used to be old Wada of Prime Minister of Kolhapur near Panchganga River in Kolhapur. However, could not see it during my last visit. Since you are in restoration, do you have any information about it? Any
What is the name of the?
uh, so Charmi,
So she can write to me if you can share my email with her, and then we could
sure,
take it. I'll try and find out more for her. At the moment,
sure.
I don't have clue, but in the name of progress, a lot of old buildings are being pulled down.
Ah, okay. Again, many of the comments I might have really missed mentioning. Thank you, and just appreciating your narrative along with the pictures. So,
Thank
uh,
you.
I would really like to thank you, Nandita, and
I'm
thank
highly
the
honored.
entire audience. Uh, it was wonderful, and a lot of fascinating aspects, and woven so nice, through this narrative and story. So thank you once again for spending this evening with us on the Anant Chaturdashi, and looking forward for our next Khaki talk next Saturday. And again, once again, on behalf of everyone, and Khaki, Nandita, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.